Good evening to one and all. I am Dr. Prabhakar Swami, IQAC coordinator of Mahatma Phule Mahavidyalaya, Kingaon. I heartily welcome all the respected participants and today's honorable resource person, Dr. Samina ma'am. Sir, on this today's session, Professor, Honorable Principal of Mahatma Phule Mahavidyalaya, Kingaon. I would like to also welcome today's guest for National Seminar Series, third session, Dr. Vittalji Chauhan sir, Honorable Vice Principal of Mahatma Phule Mahavidyalaya, Kingaon. I am very much thankful to Dr. Samina ma'am for accepting our invitation as a resource person. I heartily welcome Dr. Samina ma'am as a resource person for this 23rd session. Since 23 days, we are on national seminar series on new national education policy 2020. Today is the 23rd session. We are having a very renowned and respected resource person for today's this session. Dr. Samina Zahur Mir ma'am is working as an assistant professor at general sociology, sociology of law and education and sociological perspectives at Savitribai Phule Pune University. She has completed her MBA from the university. Ma'am has participated in national symposium sponsored by University Grants Commission New Delhi on empowering women in higher education institution. Paper titled Education Achievement and Dropout Issues of Muslim Girls in Kashmir with ISBN number 9782314. Ma'am is having too much nicely experience in the teaching of sociological fields. Ma'am has published near about more than 20 research papers in renowned research journals, and she has participated more than 20 national as well as international seminar and conferences. She has delivered near about more than 10 lectures as a resource person at various conferences and colleges. Not taking much time between, and today's honorable resource person, Dr. Samina ma'am, I will heartily welcome today's honorable resource person, Dr. Samina ma'am, to guide us on the sociological perspective of new education policy. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. You can share your screen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Just slide show it.
All right. So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. I am not that much grateful as you have represented me. I am just the part of the education system where we all are trying to give the best to the future of our children, and definitely for the students which are presently trying to learn something from us, which we have learned from our teachers and educators. So, I don't want to take much time, but I think that what from my side I would like to present today is this, that in national education policy, because nowadays it's just the talk of the town. So I think that I have presented my topic on the sociological approach, that is the symbolic interactionism, the theoretical perspectives, because which is very close to my work, that I always prefer to make the sociological perspectives as much possible through the different perspectives of the education system. So that is the reason I'm just trying to figure out that how the national education policy, which is presently where people are working. So, interactionism, or we can say the symbolic interactionism, is one of the theory where most of the times people talk about that in virtual education, the teaching and the learning method which we do prepare. Recently, we were in one of the seminars where there was. Hello, hello.
Okay, okay, proceed, ma'am.
Okay.
Somebody has unmuted.
All right. Okay. So that is the reason that how in the virtual education, or maybe the education system which we have actually after the hit of the COVID-19, that we always try to give the platform in our education system or in our different educational institutions where we can put forward something better or something new or something which could be the new pattern for the students to learn virtually or either of the ways. But that's how that symbolic interaction, if we have to present it in that platform, that in national education policy, how this particular meaning of the in virtual education, how we can make the things like possibly for teaching and learning method. Some of the quotes I have put in my slide, that is, if you can see my next slide, that if we are talking about the symbolic interactionism, it's a sociological perspective that focuses on how individuals create and interpret the symbols, meanings, and interactions in their sociological world. Because it's very important that whenever we apply some of the context to the virtual education and the teaching method learning, the theory provides a valuable insight, because this theory provides the insight in which that people try to learn, try to interact, and try to construct the meaning in not only the education, the, like for example, right now we are doing it online, like educational settings we are creating the goals and other things. Beside that, we do have the number of ways for performing as per the policy which we are getting from our from where the system has to be created. That is the reason that there are many things which in virtual education symbols always play a very crucial role, not only representing the knowledge, but these symbols also can take form from the texts to images to videos, even the the when we do create some, when we do express the things through these emojis as well. So that's why this symbolic interactionism highlights that meaning of these symbols. It's not, we are not saying that it is inherent, but it is constructed through the types of the social interactions which we do, educational interactions which we do, in leadership interactions which we do at the national, at any of the institutions which may be or somehow some way be the part of the national education policy. In an virtual form, whenever there are the students and teachers which always interact through the symbols, which definitely is not only the teaching and learning, but that goes ahead. Like for example, we said whenever we are looking for written words or some of the graphics, some of the virtuals, these all collectively construct the meaning of the subject matter. So for me, or maybe the people whom to whom I am right now addressing, that will be definitely agree with me that this particular perspective which I choose to talk about, that is the symbolic interactionism, it definitely emphasizes the importance of the interaction, because after all, even if in the national education policy, the policy is not for only the teachers and policy is not only for the students, it goes hand in hand with the teachers and the students. That's why in virtual education, which I have highlighted today, that the interaction occurs through the discussion, through the forums, through the chats, which definitely might be sometimes formal and informal. It all collaborates a particular documentation which we always try to rely on. So that is why these interactions between the students and the teachers, it always negotiate the meaning and the concept. Asking question or having the doubts or engaging the students in any of the learning process, it creates that particular interaction which actually gives through the theory of the sociology which I am presenting today. That's why I have put it as a mark that symbolic interaction can definitely help the educators to understand that how students can create and share the meaning and interpretation of a particular course, particular subject, particular discipline which they are actually learning, not only through the content but definitely through the interactions as well. Symbolic interactionism has one more deal with this concept which brings the self and the identity in one of the meaning where the virtual education students which they create when they have to create the identities, and that's why the teachers always help them to develop through the persona which they do have. And in this regard, the symbol which we do talk about, they do use the they do have a particular we can say the profile names, or we can say the user names which do they create, and tons of messages, tons of information which always they do create when there is a complete type of the interactions which they do develop, which conveys a sense of self identity. And that's how the understanding of the individual pursues through themselves and others in these virtual environment. Is it's very essential. As for me being a teacher, it's very essential to having an effective teaching and learning, not only through the formal discussion or the informal chats with the students, but definitely it should be having some other ways of learning and trying to figure out that what type of language and the communication, because which is one of the most critical component of this particular national education policy, where the way of conveying the virtual education to the students is most important perspective. And language is primarily the textual, because it also involves the multimedia element, the choice of the words, the tone we use, the framing of delivering the lectures, and the messages which do have an impact definitely on the individuals. It also interprets some of the informations. So in this regard, teachers and students always need to be aware of the symbolic kind of a nature of the language and the communication which they do use. Not only it ensures that what will be the effect of a particular teacher to a particular student, but also it brings one of the change for both the ways, that how do we learn. Because nowadays I always discuss that there are so many things which do we have to learn, because it's one of the way of getting closer to the students, so that the communication and the language which do we use with the students make us easier, and it will be a complete help. One of the way of virtual communication which we do have with the students, it also explains that how communities or a particular group of students are emerging the education in the education institutions. Because whenever we do have a concern about, and when we have the consciousness of the student teacher relationship, it always connects and affiliates through shared symbols and through shared interactions, because these communications can greatly impact the learning experience, which provides the support of the collaborations, the sense of belonging of a particular teacher. Because if we are talking about a particular role and the status of the of a particular teacher, it always have that, it always justifies that when we do have a face-to-face education, that also brings the symbolic interactionism, which brings a lot of symbols to direct and to educate the children in that way. Because symbolic interactionism as a theoretical perspective, as a way of, it's not important that in only one subject we have to create that sense of interactionism between the students, but also it analyzes how these roles can be constructed and interpreted. So as well as how they influence the teaching, learning, and the outcome of that, because at the end of every course, every program, we do look for the outcome of that. So these all groups or the communities of the students, they do prefer at the end of this that the learning experience have actually supported them, provided them the collaborations and the sense of the belongs to that particular course. That is the reason, in my opinion, that we as a teacher, whatever the role we have, whatever the status we have, it definitely delivers that how do we construct and interpret the influence of the education system in a particular society. One more thing which I would definitely like to add, that interactionism always provides a kind of a sense, which is educational sense, that goes through which we understand, the type of the education, or even if we are talking about the virtual education. In this context, that teaching and learning, it always highlights the importance of the symbols, symbolic interaction, identity, or maybe the language, maybe how do we construct the meaning of that particular particular communication setting. Every type of an educator considers these type of the aspects as to design their way of teaching into this particular course. That is how we can always keep the fostering a richer and much more engaging learning experience for the students. In the subject line or in the discipline which I would, and with me there will be many people who will definitely agree with this, that we always have the symbolic interactionism, which emphasizes that individuals always keep a symbol of meaning on a particular social and the cultural background, because the experiencing of the context of the education which we do have, either it is virtual or which designs the meaning only to understand the course or the content, but the interactionism always or can be influenced by the individuals culturally or socially. It depends that how do the educators try to deliver that point of which may be recognized there, that how this strive for the inclusively, maybe if it has some of the cultural sensitivity. That's why that's why if in this particular time we do see that there is something which is called as, which all we agree that the role of the technology always become one of the symbol in the virtual education, because the device or the platform, we say the tools which we are using in the learning form, it is always a neutral, because the symbols that we carry is always what we can say the connotations and the meanings. So understanding today's national education policy, in understanding that particular part through the virtual education in teaching learning method, if I have to be very sociological, then the influence of the technology, it's how do we try to understand the students, and definitely for the teachers who perceive and interact with the technology is always becoming a crucial part. Sometimes symbolic interactionism help the educator, and it always addresses the issue which is related to the technology, accesses the digital literacy, because being in that particular era, we have to look forward that how the educational tools to enhance the learning experience for a particular student in a very specific time. Because if we do deliver the power dynamics to a particular student, which has to be, which sheds the light on the powerful dynamics within a particular virtual education system. In virtual education, teachers always, it is always happening that we do uphold one of the authoritative power, but unfortunately students can always have a wield influence through that particular interaction and contribution. Recognizing these powers, or the way of uh, putting hold that particular power, can help the educators to create more equitable and learning system in a particular environment which we do try to deliver, whereas all voices are being heard, and we do see that it should be respectful for all the teachers who do try to deliver the best what they can do and what they have learned. Because when it comes to the virtual education system, if we talk about in the national education policy, all the teachers have one particular and that is very practical way of trying to evaluate and to assess the students, the way we interpret, because that is one of the way where the sociological studies always support this type of the practice which all the teachers do, that is assessment and the evaluations. Because the way students interpret the assessment methods, always having a query of not getting the exact marks what exactly they have written, either of the way, whether the virtual or they have actually sit in the examination for 3 hours and then they have written and then they have interpreted what they have learned from all those points which we wanted to tell them, that this is how we have to deliver the particular session. But we always look forward for those particular grades, where the evaluations could carry a significant meaning, because educators always need to consider the impact of those significant needs, because according to us, the understanding of the student will be always fulfilled where the assessments could make a significant remark for them. And that's how we do find out that this is what the outcome is, because we have created that engagement of the students in a particular discussion or the assessment. Because the grading are always ensuring that how the understanding of that particular significant session was being actually delivered in a better way. One more part which in the virtual education, according to the perspective of the theoretical perspectives of the symbolic interactionism, is this, that it applies to a particular emotion in a virtual education, because socially emotions are always being constructed. That's how the influence of the virtual education, we always put forward the feedback and the learning environment. Most of the teachers, most of the educators also maybe always have been attend to the particular emotional experience, which they consider that this could be one of the mark or the way of the interaction impact, which brings the emotional well-being of a particular community, whether it is the teacher student or the teacher administrative, where we are being designed to be the part in the education system. One more part which I would definitely include in this, that is always that whenever we try to communicate the virtual education and try to foster through the symbols of or the tools which do we provide, that also explores that how these symbols or these rituals are interactive to contribute to the sense of educating and learning in a particular class or in a particular session. Because the strategies for building or maintaining a strong communication of learning and experiencing for the students is always a challenge for most of the educators, most of the teachers, most of the schools, most of the educational institutions. Um, Emergent practices also are being always suggested that the norms which are being always emerged from the type of the interaction which we do have with the students, it always collectively shape and practice the particular system of the classroom or the system of that session which we do deliver, because it helps us to understand that how the educators adapt and innovate the instructional methods, because that is one of the part which involves the needs and the expectations of the particular system of the community, which is the learning which is the learning platform for them. I would like to bring one of the significant part in this, that the symbolic interactionism provides a rich framework for examining the social aspects of the virtual education, because it includes the knowledge, it includes the technology, it includes the dynamic, and it includes the community building, which has always the emotional well-being into the consideration. Because all these aspects uh, in in a particular teaching system enhances the teaching method, which is always been better support for the students and creates more meaningful and engaging virtual learning experiences for the for a particular group of students or for a particular community. So do I have a time? Should I continue? Do I have time? Should I continue?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, continue, ma'am. It's
All
going
right.
very nicely. Go on, go on.
All right. Okay. Thank you, sir. Moving ahead, moving ahead in the perspective of the symbolic interaction, communications always prefer to be very at a very primary level. It always go through the written texts. Nowadays, the videos, I would say in a very simpler language, that videos, or if in case of I am using the other symbolic forms, because the interactionism always underscore the meaning which is being constructed through these symbols, because educators always pay for such things, even if it is just an attention to be paid, because the clarity and the effectiveness of the communication is very, very important. Considering the choice of the words, visual representation, or in new form we can say the multimedia materials, it ensures that the students should and have to understand and engage the particular content which is being delivered by the teacher. Constructing the knowledge through the interaction, in the perspective of the sociological studies, it always suggests that the knowledge, so knowledge is something which is very static, but in the construction form, through the interactions, in most of the virtual classes, this means that the students do have to create that understanding, that through the discussion, through the collaborative projects and interactions, it always have an effect of a particular instructor and definitely the peers around, because for in particular educator, they always try to encourage having an active participation which goes to peer learning, that facilitates that particular knowledge and constructs the process which we always look forward. Symbolic objects in online learning can be used to explore that how the objects, how the digital baggages, how the certificates, how the virtual currencies always motivates and engages the students, because these symbols means to carry the easier picture for a particular student to carry forward, and it has it has some influence, which is always having an motivational method included, because whenever we do go for such type of the goals, and that's why we wanted to keep engaging the students in that way. Most of the teachers will see that even if we try to write down something on the whiteboard or the blackboard, we always try to get that attention towards them. But unfortunately it is not happening, because they're much into that particular gadget which they always carry in their hands. But that is the reason they have that motivational effect in that particular gadget which they always carry in their hands. And that's why the even if that we will see that these objects has always been an important leverage for incorporating the symbols, which always having a record, not only the records, not only the rewards, not only the recognitions, but in that particular system and in that particular course, it means a lot to them, because it identities and or it identifies that that particular virtual knowledge has somehow instructed, often, or maybe we can say created, and that identity which is definitely differ from that particular part in that offline persona. Symbolic interactionism, which is the main variable for me today to deliver through this session, is only that I would definitely like to find out this, that how educators do understand that whenever we try to go for the way of online identities, or the identities which are always been instructed to the students through the gadgets which we do provide them, just because they would have more impactful interactions, which was not maybe clear during the session which was completely offline, so that they can recognize these symbols and these aspects, and that positive encouragement and constructive encouragement would always find out something very developed identity in that particular student. That is the reason the use of that what we can say, the analogs and the metaphors highlights the significance of understanding the complex ideas. Sometimes because these students, these educators can use these analogs effectively, and maybe we can say the very simply, and convey that the abstract concept in online teaching may give them that motivational perspective which is missing somehow in the offline ways. That's why the representation always can enhance the student comprehension and engagement in a particular material system. Whenever in that because we do see that it has become one of the way of what we can say, the cultural context, because the extension of that attachment which we do create in a particular offline classroom have always the ideas which vary from teacher to teacher, which vary from educator to educator also. That is the reason we wanted to have an engagement participation where we do analyze that the factor which we create and influence is only to presence or the absence of the emotions of a particular student punctuate in formatting the discussion. And beside that, we also have put forward the way of feedbacks and the symbolic meaning is this, that we wanted to know that how critically the elements for the students are, students have been learning, and that particular interactionism again suggests the feedbacks which carries a particular symbol and which is very effective, which is very self-concept, which is very motivational. For the educators, they always provide that particular feedback. And it has somehow, we can call it as the constructive and a supportive way. And it always recognizes that the symbolic power is also in shaping the students' perception, because for them, being the part in that growth, in that progress, and in that ability is always one of the way of being the part and the parcel of the education system, which is no doubt definitely they are. And if we create among the community of the students a sense of presence, it always have a virtual education. Often, often we see that the physical presence of a traditional classrooms in the perspective of the symbolic interactionism can help the educators understand how to create a sense of social presence. Because in online learning environment or in offline classrooms, it has that wider space where the involvement of the symbols, the involvement of the interaction fosters the feeling of connectedness and engagement among the students, and definitely between the students or the instructor or a teacher. So that is why, for me, the ethical consideration for the symbolic interactionism guides, it discusses the ethical consideration in virtual education, particularly which relates to a privacy, to an identity, to a particular digital ethics, which is always being understood by the particular potential and the value of the particular student in an online or offline actions. Educationists or educators always try to help out that if we could possibly find out or navigate these ethical challenges, will be one of the discussions, maybe in other ways also. Because the essence of this interactionism, it always provides a comprehensive framework for examining the social and the symbolic dynamics of the education, either it is online or it is offline. As of now, if we are talking about the only virtual education system, the educators definitely use these insights to create more of the effective, engaging, or culturally sensitive system of experience for the students to enhance the way of learning. But there are many examples which we do see in the symbolic interactionism under this particular theory, which has a concern over a particular system of teaching learning method. Because because the forum, the platform which we do create for a particular community is not only that how much they are exploring in a particular subject. Because we do have a system where it's not like if the students are only the students who wanted to be the geographers, and they have to learn everything about the earth, everything about the sky, everything about the rocks, everything about the soil, everything about the flora and fauna. But then that is not important. And it because the system we do have, and the disciplines which we do learn, it has always a connection. So either of the virtual education or the education system which goes very informal with the type of the education which we do have. And I would definitely add this, that in the virtual education or the education system which we do try to give, put forward in front of the students today and for the future, it's very important that what sort of expressions or what sort of motivations which we are providing the students. Because if we say the learning experience, or if we say that what type of the motivation the students do have, It is definitely in the hands of the teachers. It is definitely in the hands of the educators as well, because it goes hand in hand. It's like vice versa. Unless and until, if you, for example, morning you go to the classroom at 9 o'clock, you see that out of 50 students, you have 40 students, you know that you can deal with them better way. There are 10 students, which is okay, they are not in the classroom, but we can go ahead with the other number, which is a big number. Like around the 75-80% students are there. We know how to deal with it. But then if you see that, at least you can have that, interactionism, or you can use all types of the symbols. There is no need of using any emojis. It is just that how do you deliver the expressions, and how do you express yourself in a particular, mm, we can say, a particular session. But then when virtually you see that you have 50 students, okay, there are almost 51 students, because some of the students have joined through the laptop, through the mobile, both. And you see, oh my god, out of 50 students I have 51. But then how many of them are actually learning it? How many of them are actually, getting that interactionism, and which have all those symbols, which have all those tools which you wanted to deliver? And in the national education policy, recently I was listening to one of the Delhi University professor. She was also talking about this, that we are talking about in under the national education policy, we do talk about the experiential learning. But then in experiential learning, what sort of tools we need to use, what sort of methods we have to highlight in that particular session. If we wanted to take it, we cannot tell the students, you go to the particular, for example, for the ethnographic studies, you have to go to a particular tribal group and you have to learn and come back, and that is what will be the experiential learning. But that is not enough. We need to give them some of the highlights. We have to interpret them and create that sense of understanding, that whatever the pattern of learning they would be having, and it will be constructed in a particular method. And that method is something which is very useful in understanding if we are letting or trying to construct the type of the education through the national education policy, not only in the particular school or college or university, but in most of the educational system. It should be at a very minute way, so that if we are creating the symbolic interactionism at a very particular manner, we have to be the invigilators of that particular experiential learning as well. Because the representation of the knowledge which we wanted to from for our students in virtual education, it definitely plays a very crucial role. Because these all symbols together, whatever the type of the text, they do bring it in front of, in the form of the assignments or assessments. It should have a proper text, it should have a proper image, it should have an constructed video. It, even if the emojis they do use, that also have to have the highlighted meaning, which not only inherit or construct the particular knowledge, but it also should bring this the social interactionism for the particular group of people, which goes through these all symbols. Because experiential learning does not mean that we will take the students to a particular institute where they will see, where they will observe. Because the way of observing also is an important perspective, where the student need to have that particular understanding that what exactly they are observing. It's just that if there is a particular drama going on, and then we on the drama for almost 1 hour, and then we ask after we after the story is over, we do have the different understanding of the students. Different people will be having understanding it in their own ways. How do they understand it? But in the virtual classrooms, how do we actually find out that graphical, avatar of the students, which collectively construct some subject matter that will be most valuable in the experiential learning? And this is how I think brings the sense of emphasizing the importance of the interactions in the virtual classrooms, and definitely if we have other platforms to make possible that the students should learn collectively, for a particular collaborative documentation of the education under the national education policy. Sir, am I audible, visible? Sir, is my time over?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. If you have time, if you want to talk, you can talk. Really, it was going very nicely. You are telling about the virtual classroom and the face-to-face education, online education related to new national education policy. Really, it was very nice. If you want to talk, you proceed.
Sir, it will be good that if there will be some people who wanted to interact, or if maybe they have any.
I request to all the dear participants. I request to all the participants. If you have any queries regarding this session, please you can ask to ma'am. Ma'am is available to answer your queries, or you can discuss with ma'am. What if you are any query? Venkatesh sir, are you there? Professor B.P. Venkatesh sir. Yeah,
yes.
if anybody having any query, please raise your hand, open your mic, and you just talk with ma'am.
Yes, of course, I am here. But
Yes,
ma'am made every point so very clear that I don't have any question as such.
That's so nice, sir.
No, really, it was a very nice session, ma'am. You are
sir.
talking very fluently about this national education policy, and you clear all the doubts.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Shall we proceed to the last part of the session? Out of thanks.
Yes, sir.
With your permission.
Sure, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Samina ma'am, for accepting our invitation as a resource person and presenting your very valuable talk among us. I'm very much thankful to Honorable Principal of my college, Dr. B.R. Bodke sir, for giving this opportunity to me to organize this lengthy, long seminar series, which is near about 25 days national seminar series. Daily we are having session at 6 o'clock, but due to some reasons, technical errors, we have proposed today's session at 8 o'clock, 8 to 9. And ma'am is present with among us. I'm very much thankful to Dr. Samina ma'am for being with us and giving your very valuable talk. Really, it was very nice, informative, and a knowledgeable session that you have given today. I'm very much thankful to all the dear participants for presenting here for this session. Those who have joined us on the YouTube Live channel, I'm very much thankful to them also. They are watching us on YouTube Live. I'm very much thankful to the Vice Principal of my college who is among us in the same meeting, Dr. Vithalji Chauhan sir. I'm very much thankful to each and everyone. Once again, I'm very much thankful to Dr. Samina ma'am. And with the permission of chair, I conclude this meeting. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.